Hey guys, it's Chris. From odd things found in bathtubs to things found in the forest and even under the ice. Join me as I reveal 9 of the creepiest things discovered in abandoned places. Number 9. A bathtub full of brains. Before I list out what this is, it's important to note that this find has very few details due to it being posted on Reddit. Yes, the front page of the internet has done all sorts of things in the past that have been proven false or exaggerated to a certain degree. But with this one, most people agree it's real. This picture was posted in a forum known as WTF, and for good reason. Because a user claims that when they went and examined an abandoned building one time, possibly a hospital, but it's unconfirmed obviously, they went and found a bathtub in a room that was literally full of brains. What's more, the brains seemed to be perfectly intact, and there were about 100 of them, or so the post claims. Because the user didn't give a lot of details as to where this find was or when they found it, a lot of people put their own spin on things and did their own origin stories for the brains, which is creative but not exactly helpful. The real thing to wonder about here though is intent, because if they are real and much of Reddit agrees that they could be, then why were they put there in the bathtub? How were they so preserved when the Redditor found them? And so on and so forth. Regardless of the actual truth, another truth that can be confirmed is that if you found this when you were exploring an abandoned place, you'd likely freak out. And me too. Number 8. The Thomas Theodore Merrylin Mansion. One-time construction workers were doing some digging and excavating in an area when they dug up the remains of a mansion, one that was owned by Thomas Theodore Merrylin. Naturally, they went and explored the area, but when they got into the basement, they found something they didn't expect. Mainly, they found oddly sealed wooden boxes. Upon finding the boxes, they felt that they were gonna find some kind of treasure or artifact that could make them rich, but the real find was much scarier, because within these boxes were the skulls and skeletons of mythical creatures, the ones we now think about as cryptids. According to the findings, there were remains of fairies, dragons, and other mythical creatures. When pictures of these items spread, it caused a lot of issues, including wondering where Thomas Theodore Merrylin got these skeletons and what it meant for the world at large. However, there is a twist on this, because eventually the truth was figured out and basically it was a stunt. A sculptor known as Alex CF knew about Thomas Theodore Merrylin's work in the field of cryptids, and since Merrylin was about to have a museum open to the world focusing on cryptids, he made skulls and very accurate sculptures to help promote the opening. And it worked. And despite being debunked, some people still think it's real to this day. Number 7. Island of the Dolls. Isla de los Muñecas translates to Island of the Dolls, and this place near Mexico City is hailed as one of the creepiest, spookiest, and potentially most haunted places in the world. Just as haunting is why this place exists at all. At one point in time, a caretaker looked after the island, and one day he found a dead girl's body floating in a canal nearby. He buried her on the island and later on felt he was being haunted by her. Desperate to bring peace to her spirit, he started making and collecting dolls. After he was finished with them, he would put them all over the island. The intent was that the girl would have these dolls to play with, and thus leave him alone. However, eventually that caretaker died, in the exact same canal that the girl did. Anyone who goes to Isla de los Muñecas finds themselves not just looking at creepy dolls, but they truly feel that some of them are possessed, including reports of the dolls' eyes moving to follow them as they go through, which is exactly why this place is so creepy. No one lives on this island, or at least no one living lives on this island. Yet as you wander through, you can't help but wonder if these dolls are honestly watching you. Not to mention, think about all the time and effort that went into not just getting the dolls, but putting them up all over the island just to please this girl's spirit. Though I guess it brings up another question. Is the reason the caretaker is dead because the spirit didn't like the dolls at all? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on more videos like this. Number 6. Drugs on a boat. Drug smuggling is sadly something that is done all over the world and in a variety of ways. But one of the more common methods is to use various kinds of boats or submersibles to try and get it to the destination. But sometimes it doesn't go as planned, like when one Panga boat in 2009 was found near Malibu completely abandoned, except for it had 41 bales of marijuana on board. There's no logical reason for this boat to have been abandoned like that, and yet there it was. It even had many containers of gasoline in it, which seemed to indicate that the drug runners were going to burn the boat should they get caught. Yet the boat was alone, and none of the gasoline was used. Think about it from the person finding the boat's perspective. You see a boat drifting along the beach, you go and you check it out and see if anyone is hurt, and instead, you find a large assortment of marijuana bales. That's creepy and kind of scary. Weirdly, while this boat was abandoned, it was also noted by officials that these boats are very common for drug smuggling, making it all the more curious as to why this one was abandoned. Number 5. The Clowns of Greenville. In Greenville, South Carolina, there was a string of strange incidents involving kids and clowns. And yes, that does sound a lot like the story of It, but trust me when I say this one's weirder and possibly even creepier, as that was a movie, and this story's very real. According to the kids, there were multiple clowns in the area, and they were trying to lure the kids into the woods via money, which is definitely not appropriate. Apparently, there were a lot of kids who almost went into the woods, but instead, they went and told the police about what was going on. Donna Arnold was one of the parents whose child had been approached by a clown, and she recalled the events. At first, I thought he was telling a fib, and I said, "Go in the house and we'll talk about this when I get in," because I didn't want it all over the place. Arnold told NBC station WYFF. But the next day, 30 kids come up to me and said, Miss Donna, there's a clown in the woods. There's clowns in the woods." My child was with me, so I knew they had to see something. There was more than one kid that had seen them, so I felt confident that he was telling the truth. Yet while this does reveal one side of things, it doesn't really reveal it all. Why were those clowns in the woods? Why did they try and lure the kids in with money? Why didn't they turn up again? No one's really sure, but this proves once and for all that clowns have been and forever will be creepy. Number 4. TV with bullet holes. This story comes from Reddit, and thus it must be taken with a grain of salt, but there was video evidence of this to be clear. An urban explorer had found an abandoned house in Ontario, Canada, and decided to go check it out. What he found was that the 4-bedroom home still had many things in it, as well as having working electricity, which you would think would be enough for someone to live there, but it wasn't. Rather, there was no signs of people living there anymore, and things just seemed to have been left behind, making one wonder what happened to the previous residents. However, that's not the truly creepy part. For as the Redditor showed, in one of the 3 televisions on the home, there was bullet holes. Now, a bullet hole in an abandoned house can paint quite a story, but finding bullet holes in just the televisions? That's a different level of creepy that is a bit hard to explain. Number 3. Frozen Mother and Her Children. On Mount Amparo, located on the Argentina-Chile border, some scientists were doing some studies when they came across a young woman's body buried in the ice of the mountain. This isn't a typical lost person story, right? Not so much. You see, when they first found the woman, they thought she had only been there for a short time. This was believed because her skin was entirely intact. And to top it all off, she had ice in her hair that wasn't from where she was frozen. However, as they studied her more, they were shocked to find out that she was actually about 1,500 years old. The ice literally preserved her body in a way that few are ever preserved. Nature itself preserved the body, which makes sense given that the body was found 20,000 feet above sea level. So why was she there on the mountain in the first place? Well, she apparently was an Incan sacrifice to their gods. There was blunt force trauma to her head found later which sealed that notion. The woman was later named Juanita, and because of how well her body was preserved, doctors were able to find that she had tuberculosis, among other diseases. This sign of weakness made her a perfect candidate for the gods, a creepy reminder of how the ancients handled things. Number 2. The DELRAY Witch. A police officer once posted a video that seemed to indicate that he was in the presence of a witch. No, for real. The officer was observing a house in Detroit, Michigan, because he had heard some weird noises. As he investigated the house, he found a newspaper clipping about a woman known as the DELRAY Witch. When she was alive, the locals thought she had supernatural powers and could make their children sick. That didn't affect the police officer as he observed the house, but when he went outside to get more footage, a face appeared in the upstairs window for a brief moment. Was this the witch, or was this a hoax by the cop? You tell me. Number 7. Dead shark in an abandoned tank. Sharks are by their very nature creepy and scary, depending on the species you're looking at. But for one explorer in Australia, he found a shark who truly took creepiness to a whole new level. This was because the shark he found was in an abandoned wildlife park back in 2012, one that had a rather large aquarium. As he was exploring that aquarium, he found a very large fish tank that had the silhouette of a shark tail. As he went closer, he found himself looking at a dead shark that was preserved nearly perfectly in a tank that was filled with formaldehyde. After word of this came out, it was revealed that the shark was real and that it had been caught by fishermen and donated to the park to show off in their aquarium. There's no doubt, though, that the looming figure of this shark draped in the green hue of the liquid makes it extra specially creepy. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these very, very creepy things found in abandoned places? Which one of these tales do you find the most curious or creepy on the larger scale? Which of the items shown creeped you out the most? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to World List, and I'll see you next time on the channel.